Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
Last time he's gonna see me. He ain't never gonna see me get either by his choice or by my choice.
Right.
He ain't gonna be hanging around.
Right.
So, and that's just me, and that's just the way I roll. Maybe I was raised differently. I don't know. I just know that my real dad once told me that there's guys who come around to the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts because their son's in the troop and they got to do their time and take you camping and do this and that and the other. Then there's the guy who over here who works for the troop 24/7 and always wants to be around the Cub Scouts. And you got to kind of look at that guy and go, what the fuck is this guy up to? And any above 35-year-old man usually doesn't have time in his life to be worried about fucking 12 and 10 and 9 and 8-year-olds. And, so I'm just saying, and there was definitely some dudes back in them days in the 70s, 80s. Let me tell you, that's why the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts been paying out their ass in lawsuits, because it was filled with a bunch of fucking dudes. You got to look around and go, what are you doing, dude? Why are you hanging out? You would not be able to hang out with men your own age. That's what it really boils down to. Men your own age, even ones like me, Wendell, are going to call you out across the table. And you don't like that. You don't like real men calling you out. Clearly, you want to hang around younger kids or an old guy who needs your services.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not hanging around dudes that are all 62, 63, 59, 58, cop, firemen, that. No, he's not doing that, dude. He's like hanging out with Taylor, Mikey.
Well, Mikey,
his nephew.
I think Mikey has kind of stepped away. You notice how he hasn't been good, and good for him, because in that kind of line of work that he does, the last thing he needs is that coming back on him and wrecking his credibility. Can you imagine?
And that would show you wisdom and intelligence, which you'd expect from a person who's a lawyer and that's their job in their field. I may not agree with the Masonic crap and the other society shit he's into and whatever. I don't know about I don't care. I'm not into any of that. Evil's not into society. He's not into religion, not into any of your shit. Evil's like a biker dude who tells you to fuck off. So, whatever. We're just different people. But he has the intelligence to know that, hey, in my real life, this might not look good. Right. And so hanging around this guy maybe I should show up to photograph the show.
How is this gonna? He's probably like, how's this gonna look? I have black clients, and this guy's going around.
You're gonna and again, someone who has a career like that understands that you have to answer questions to law enforcement, a district attorney, a judge, a jury. People make opinions about you and how you look, and so but these guys, again, in their worlds, again, if you're Aiken IT and you never leave your house and you don't really care what anyone thinks, and that's why Aiken acts the way he does, because he doesn't. Right. I would guess he never even gets out of sweatpants or shorts. That's just
he claims that he drives around and he uses the car for calls, because remember they got into that whole AI and how it tracks his calls, and I'm like, bullshit. He must just go to the post office and come back home. Yeah,
he goes to the Sheets and gets us something to drink and a couple of donuts and a cookie or something.
Right.
He says he doesn't eat sweets. Maybe he's going to get a sandwich.
Oh, please. He doesn't eat sweets like I don't eat beans. Come on, fuck off.
I'm having a hard time believing that.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
So, and why? As again, some people just front that way. I don't know why. Like, I'll just tell you right now, I eat shit. I eat fucking meat. I eat cookies. I eat crap. I had ice cream last night.
When's the last time you saw a 400-pound person that ate healthy? You don't see 400-pound vegans. Come on, fuck off.
You don't see 6'5", 275-pound vegans either. So clearly, I'm packing in some fucking burgers and some hot dogs and some steak and some chicken.
Wait a minute. Dude. You don't eat. I thought you didn't eat sweets.
Yeah, exactly. I don't eat sweets, and I don't do. And that's another thing, Wendell. You're teetotaling bullshit. Stop trying to pretend like because some state legalized weed, the whole thing's gone up in flames. That's just completely not true, dude. Like, that's just like there's so many states now that have legal weed that proves your fucking fallacy of it. So stop pretending like you're boozing and you're having a couple of cocktails and chit chatting and then getting in and driving, which I know you do, Wendell.
Oh,
you don't take
a
fucking
he does.
Uber.
No.
So, dude, come on, bro. You put more people at risk with that activity and going to your bar with Maurice than me sitting at home with the duty ever would 24 fucking 7 365, dude. So that's just the truth. And that's not even Maurice's fault. I'm just saying that Wendell, like he doesn't really, he has these biases. Let's just put it that way. He has biases, and and some of that could be, again, maybe this is where my fantasy or fascination, I should say, comes with all this. I've never met Amish Pennsylvania people who go,
Yeah,
and
and
the boozing is okay, but you better not smoke the reefer.
Now
I
I
don't understand this whole logic.
No.
I've never been around this. Yeah.
And I think it's always a fun setup. I tend to do this during the first segment, which is only about 45 minutes. Count the you-knows. I mean, this fucking idiot, it's like he cannot help himself. I'd love to break him of that fucking habit.
I thought one time I should do the drinking game or even the pot smoking game where I take a rip or a drink every time he says, and I realized if I did this for 6 hours, I would be dead.
Yeah, you'd be dead.
I'd be comatose on the couch with the ambulance coming to pick me off.
And then he's just brain dead because he has such a limited vocabulary, right?
Well, and he still thinks that the word enunciate, which starts with the letter E, is the word annunciate, which starts with the letter A. And
That's
I hate
funny.
to break it to you, Wendell, but these are two fucking different words that don't mean the same thing. And enunciate with like I'm making an announcement is not even a thing. It's enunciate. You enunciate your words.
Do you think there's ever a point where we could issue a challenge to have you versus him in a spelling bee?
No, because he won't even talk to me. He was forced to do it that one time in the chat room. I called in, and if you listen to the segment, he just sat there silent.
Yeah, he was just shitting his pants.
He had no idea about this guy on the phone telling him what I was. So this is why I'm saying, like, honestly, the one cool thing that I would do at some point in time, and that I would have someone to document, is me meeting him face to face, because that interaction needs to be documented and recorded, because y'all would really see how he's really going to react then.
Yeah, I'd document that after a tug on his lunch lady arms, that fucking bitch.
It'd be awesome if he got a tug on the lunch lady arm to see Ruben on one side, and he looks over and
he's like, what the fuck?
Say, oh, fuck. Oh, God, they're behind me, dog.
What are you doing in Chicago or in St. Charles?
It's okay. It's okay, Wendell. I contacted BJ, and he put us on the guest list, so we're here to help you out. So, anyways.
That would be priceless. Yeah.
But, and we don't know. The Arcata Theater doesn't seem like the type of venue worthy of me making the flight or the drive or the travel time all the way to such Midwestern states to find this gentleman. But if he ever ends up with the Whiskey a Go-Go again, I think in November, right? October, November, there's a possibility there. Oh, your mic's off.
I think it's November is what I was saying. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So
I think it's November.
Might end up seeing someone at some point in time. November is a pretty slow month for evenings. So maybe I will end up in Hollywood sitting there.
I forget. We'll have to look at the date. I think it's close to Thanksgiving, I think. The date.
I believe so. I believe it was 20. So yeah, that's why I have to take a look at that and see. But
can go
the
up
other thing he'd have to, he could, he would obviously, try to, if there's this guy coming in.
You think he'd take offense if I tugged on his chin and said gobble gobble? And then he would go, shit, he's here.
I think he's going to crap his pants if he sees either one of us in person, because he's not going to know how to react. He's going to get called to the carpet with the shit he pulled regarding the Don Dockett interview. Yeah. And he's just going to deny it to our face. He'll act like that. I didn't say anything to Don. I don't know what you're talking about. But the reality is just realize something, there, Wendell. Like, you think that you have all the connection. Well, my band's played the Whiskey. I've emailed Jake from the Whiskey. I'm sure if I really wanted to find a way in the Whiskey to see Dokken, I can find a way in the Whiskey to see Dokken, bro. So, don't just think that because you're Don's boy that you're not ever going to be called to the carpet for your bullshit. Because at some point in time you will. And honestly, dude, if you had any fucking common sense, you just say, hey, dude, it was just shit talking on the air. We're all good, right? Blah blah. That's probably what you're going to pull anyways, right? The radio shtick. We're just radio guys doing radio shtick, man. But in the end, I'm still going to say to your face, it was bullshit what you pulled on Ruben with the Dawn interview. And it's bullshit that you fucking sanction me and then fucking try to act like ban him, remove him from the chat. Don't let him do this. Don't let him. So come on, dude. It's a joke.
Lame. The good thing we know is that show won't sell out. I mean, it's Don Dokken, so it's not going to sell out. No. And there'll be tickets
Well, so what they do is, as we all know with the whiskey, is Don is going to line that they, as Wendell complained about, I think one time, but again, it shows you his lack of knowledge of the actual machinations of the way it works of the whiskey. Dawkin approves how many opening bands he's going to have.
Right.
Those opening bands
5 or 6.
Pay money. They pay a percentage to Jake and they pay a percentage to Don himself. He gets so much from each band to open for him. So if you're complaining, Wendell, that there's 5 opening bands of whiskey, it's because Don wanted the money.
Right.
Now, what they do for the bands that are opening, like say if my band, they offered us, and we're blues rock. We're not even, they offered us to open for Dawkins. And I said, well, what would that cost? And I said, you have to get $800 or $600 together to give to Don Dawkins, and then we'll throw you 30 or 40 tickets to the show, and you can go sell those at 15 or 20 bucks a pop to make some money back or whatever. And I said, I'm not giving Don Dawkins $600. I'll just play the whiskey on my own night and make what I make. I don't know how I do that, So I just didn't seem like why. I guess the idea is you want to have the prestige of opening for Don. If that was something that stroked your ego, like someone like Wendell who's paddling his fucking ham in the corner and everything Don says, then that would be great, But I'm not even knocking Don. I'm not saying I wouldn't have considered it. It's just the price was too high for what I was going to get, which was a 30-minute slot, 30 fucking minutes at the whiskey stage for that kind of dough to him. I don't know about all that, dude. It just didn't sit right with. There were some other bigger acts that offered less. Robbie Krieger of the Doors.
Oh no shit!
You could have paid less money and offered for him. And I was like, well, that's a legend.
And that's
rock and roll Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
that's a different. So I might pay him $500 to open for him. But that's just my opinion. I'm more of a Doors fan. I like Dawkins. Don't get me wrong, but the Doors are legendary. I mean, they're before all these fucking bands, dude. So, the point is that whole system. So yeah, you'd have to go sit through X number of opening bands, and then you'd have to get what Don gave you last time he was on stage at the whiskey type of a performance, which is him, doing the Don Dawkins raspy voice, whispering through songs.
Limp hands.
So then I have to weigh it in my mind. Okay, is it worthy to me to meet Wendell face to face and have this moment to spend literally probably thousands of dollars to get down there and travel expenses and this, that, and the other just to have that moment for all you fucking people out there.
Right.
And just for shits and giggles because I want to see Wendell's face, but
just want to watch the reaction.
It definitely wouldn't be to see Dawkins. That would not be the reason why I would be going. And to be honest with you, even if I consider doing that, I'd have to look on the schedule and say, what other bands are in town that I could see that I actually would want to see? You know what I'm saying? Because the Dawkins would not be an attractive enough thing.
Fuck no.
So
I think the thing
I like the whiskey, but if you want to go see a band at the whiskey, go see a good. There's a lot of good
go see somebody good.
Somebody
worth
sit through Dawn doing that routine again. So
right. Yeah, and you never know. I mean, at some point, maybe Crenshaw will get added to the bill. Wouldn't that be something?
That might be the kind of guy that would pay Don the necessary money to have a 30-minute opening slot.
For sure.
And but do you think Ira has bad taste in his mouth from his time in Dawkins?
More with the Bullet Boys, I'm guessing.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But maybe. I don't know.
I just wondered.
He seems to be
okay.
I think from what I've seen is I think he seems to get along with everybody unless you rip him off like Mark Torine did with the amps or an amp or something.
Allegedly. I believe that Mick Sweeta has made the same accusation that after the last go around, they came back to pick up some amps and the amps were gone. So Mark might be, my guess is that he doesn't make the kind of dough that anyone thinks he makes, and so he's probably scraping by and living in an apartment in L.A. right now.
Right.
And no knock on that. Hey, he's still in the game doing his thing. I'm just saying that shady business tactics, and there are business practices, and there's been some of that with the guy who I'm in the bathroom with right now too. By the way, he does the same kind of shit. Don't let him.
Right.
He stuck that Dilania chick with the tour hotel bill, a few $1,000s, and left her high and dry.
Right.
So, this thing's happened, but, I think Crenshaw would be a prime opening act for Dawkins. That would be my guess. And, to be fair, and honest about the situation, I can clearly say, I like Dawkins, but because I could never see Dawkins with George Lynch, which is what I would want to see. Anytime I saw Dawkins, it was in a package. because they were in the
yeah.
package.
Right.
And I was seeing other bands, so Dawkins
Right.
in there, cool. But I didn't go out of my way to go find Don Dawkins doing what he's doing. I just, over the last 20 years or so, I think it's been, and Wendell can say, oh, no, dude, when I saw him was on Erase the Slate, and he was with Poison, Cinderella, Slaughter. There was a bunch of bands on this package. And I said then, he's losing his voice. He can't hit the high notes, and he's having to stick it in the mid range, and even that sounds thin and kind of teetering. And that was 2001. I mean, 99. I don't know, a long time ago, dude.
Right.
So you can't tell me it's gotten better. It's only gotten worse. And and at that time they had Reb Beach, which was I was okay, Reb, Winger, Pilson still here, Mick still here. This is still 3/4 Dawkins to me.
Right.
But it was already starting to not be vocally worthy of going to see. And so there's no way at this time I would go do that. So no knock on Don. Go play the whiskey. Go do your thing. But let's be realistic. The whiskey's about the level that Don can get in LA, because he's not going to be able to go to the House of Blues or any of the other places and sell enough tickets. This is not going to happen.
There's no way.
So, I mean, again, Wendell was pumping up the 500 people to 800 people at a public thing at a park or whatever, in fucking
families in the park,
in the middle of nowhere. So people in Hollywood most certainly got better shit to do than sit through Dawkins. So he'll have 5 or 6 opening bands to pre-sell all those tickets he's going to give them and guarantee his pay. That's why Don Dawkins is going to do that. So and hey, whatever, he's Don Dawkins. I'm not knocking him for the business practices. I'm just saying I know what it is, and I'm not going to. If I went, it would be strictly to find Wendell and say, but at this point in time, I don't even know if it's worthy. Again, I just think that Wendell was back down. It would be very disappointing for everyone. It'd be, I like what you're doing. You're making fun of me. Yeah, you want a cocktail? Come on, let's have a drink. All right.
You better stop it, or I'm going to beat you with Don's bad hand.
No, he once he saw the size of me, he'd shit his pants.
He'd shit his pants. All right.
So, and that's okay. That's normal. I'm used to that. But what I probably ended up doing was getting roped into moving someone's amps at the end of the gig.
They're like, hey, these are Ira Black's amps. Can you move them into that?
John's got a couple cabs here, and he needs some help with his guitars. He's a little guitar player. Okay, I'll grab John's stuff. I don't have no problem with John. I don't even have nothing with Chris McCarville or BJ's amp, but they're guys with a gig trying to make a buck doing it with a guy who's got a legacy, and I get it. But for those of us out there, I think most of us can look and see. We just saw Mick Brown literally on his brother's photo the other day on Facebook. So clear, and Mick looks happy and healthy.
Looks good.
Yeah. So I was like, there's clearly it's not a physical reason why Mick can't play the drums. It's probably, I don't want to deal with this bullshit unless it's
tired
George,
of getting
Jeff, and Don. Yeah, he wants all 4 guys, or there's no point in doing this. And even when they did reunite, they kind of did a half-assed.
Yeah, that wasn't any good.
Yeah. And that's probably left even a more bad taste in their mouth. Like, dude, like we can't even if we do get in the room with this old man and deal with his bullshit, we can't even get a full tour out of it and some real dough. So I'm not saying they didn't do bad. I'm understanding Japan paid them pretty well, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why Mick's sitting in Arizona like, hey, I don't really got to do something right now.
Right.
But you could definitely tell it's not I'm physically incapable, or he doesn't really want to be in a band with Don Dawkins.
No.
So
yeah.
I would bet, mark my words, if George Lynch and Jeff Pilson called him and said, we're doing this with Don, they'd find a way to get Mick Brown off the couch and on back on the kit to play a few shows. But if those 2 guys aren't on the plate and doing it the way it's supposed to be done, he's just going to stay home. And that's too bad, because again, we're not going to ever get really the final way Dawkins should wrap up their career, the proper way.
Which should have been 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, even if you're going to do it now, give us one last tour of the real 4 dudes for 20 or 30 shows in the biggest cities and say,
that would include the Dancing Bear, because he was the original bass player.
Well, I'm just saying Pilson's the classic era lineup.
Right.
We'll say.
Yeah.
And, but again, no one's going to take the time to do that. Don's not going to cut the as Izzy Stradlin wisely once told everyone, they won't cut the loot equally. That's why these things don't happen, people. So Don wants his larger percentage while they get their shekels, and they're going to go,
Right.
nah, you're vocally not bringing it to the table, Don. So why would I get less? So,
Right.
so that's too bad. But as far as the rest of the CMS, I don't think there was much else to really
No.
cover there. We kind of brushed all the stuff. They did some other talking about some other bullshit we don't get into. But
Yeah.
one thing before we wrap up here that I did want to talk about that I just think is sad and weird and makes me feel strange, and that is that it really does appear, as the little meme I posted on our Facebook page indicated, that Sharon and Tony are just propping Ozzy.
Yeah.
Fucking Kane and a helper. He's like,
Sure.
and it's like, I mean, the photos of him signing the mural the guy did, which the mural looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the photos and you go, damn, Geezer looks really sharp. Even Bill looks slightly slender, lost a
Right.
little weight around the tummy. He's still got the old man look to him, but he's, by his outfit, kind of rounding back into the Black Sabbath look with the all black and the outfit he's got on there. Tony looks like Tony Iommi, the way you would expect Tony
Right.
Iommi to look. And then they look in the corner of this one photo, and there's this guy who's like,
Right.
he's just physically incapable, everyone.
And the thing
when
is-
they show him shine his name,
Right.
he's like,
Yeah.
like he can barely
Well-
can scribble Ozzy on there. If you can't sign your name to a wall, bro, there's no chance you're grabbing a microphone stand and walking around reading the monitors and the teleprompters.
It's gonna be piped
No
in,
way.
and he's gonna be sitting.
That's my point.
But here's the deal. Remember how frail and battered and beaten Jack Russell looked like at the tail end? At least the voice was there.
Yes.
So at
We
least
don't,
he had
no.
he had that going where you're like, I don't know. And I think I said this before, where I saw him. I think the last time I saw him, I was like, I don't know if this guy's going to pull it off. And as soon as the music started, it's like he flipped the switch, and the voice was there. I mean, physically, not necessarily the best of shape, obviously, but at least the voice was there.
Yeah. Well, again, when you get on stage, the adrenaline kicks in. If there's, anything over, 20 or 30 people, any human being's going to feel like, I got to perform for these people. Let me do something here and get on stage and do this. But that's only going to last you a couple of songs. And then I kind of feel like if you really watch the back half of some of those shows Jack was doing, he's less and less mobile, vocally going, kind of degrading song by song. And it was just, it just makes me feel weird. It's like I don't know whether I want to enjoy this or whether I feel like I'm exploiting some old man who should just really not be doing this.
The Ozzy posture. I mean, the way he was just slumped over like that, it made me think of like the folks out on the streets that are on fentanyl. They have that kind of hanging, kind of droopy, kind of physical thing going where it's like
a similar thing.
Yeah.
I think in Ozzy's case, I think there's some motor skills going on here, some dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, maybe a combination of all three going on. My point is though, is like, dude, like if he literally in the photos is having a hard time looking up, like raising his head, then like how are you? So I agree with you. It's going to have this, and this is what makes me feel like, okay, so am I like everyone else, literally contributing to Sharon exploiting this guy?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
I was, I think I had mentioned, I got evacuated. I had all my shit moved out of here, and I've been picking stuff up slowly but surely. And my friend who owns the record store here, he goes, "Hey, are you going to watch that Sabbath thing?" I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of tempted just to see some of the other bands. I don't have high hopes for Ozzy. I'm like, but then I'm like, oh man, do I want to give Sharon any money? I've already given her enough money. The other thing too, though, with Ozzy, it just seems like what a perfect opportunity for last minute he opts out. I mean, maybe he can't even mumble the words, because if you recall, I forget how many years ago, must have been 3-4 years ago when they did, Ozzy did was it an NFL kickoff or was it a halftime thing where they had him propped up on one of those like things that looked like one of those holders that you put dolls that you collect
it was
on.
like a stand behind him that went behind his back.
He was
or
strapped to it, and he was just
stay
mumbling, and clearly he wasn't singing. I mean, that was pre-recorded. I think the band was live. I mean, I think that was happening for sure. But Yeah, that was sad. And that was sad then. So you're like, he's not getting better. He's getting worse.
That's my point. And we get to the photos here, and it's just, if you just look at them, I mean, in every of the photo, there's like one photo where they finally got him to look up, and it looks like the band is kind of, but he's still, I mean, he almost looks like Jack, like he's lost 3 inches of height. He's all hunched over, and
Yeah.
it's got the cane, and I'm just going, so yes, I'm with you. My thought process was maybe I would pay the money to watch the other bands. You know,
Yeah.
there is other bands on the bill
Oh, yeah.
I don't mind seeing. And so, but then I started thinking, yeah, am I giving money to Sharon to exploit
Yeah.
Ozzy and doing this? And how much is it really going to charity versus not? They're claiming this is a charity thing. And then you get into some bands that I do like. Tool is one of the bands that I
Right.
like. They're not going to let them televise it, which isn't
No.
surprising because if you know anything about Tool, they don't ever record anything. They don't ever
Right.
let anyone see. You got to
Sure.
go to the show, otherwise
Sure.
you don't see them.
Right.
Even the YouTube clips online, usually they get on there quick and then they're pulled off. They get them yanked off there. Tool Maynard does not like, and maybe that's because I think in my mind eventually Tool's going to release some ultra DVD or extravaganza of a Tool concert live with all the way it's sound. And he actually said that one time, which I respected, which is that half the time when you're watching this shit, it sounds like crap. We don't want you to listen to us sounding like crap.
You know, the weird thing about Tool is I know he's a nightmare for photographers because I think he keeps they're always in the shadows. And then he keeps his back to the photographer, so you never get any good shots.
And he's notorious
yeah.
for putting himself back by the drummer on a thing away from
Right.
everyone. And he's in an outfit usually. I mean,
Sure.
he usually has some
Right.
dressed up
Something.
cosplay thing. Yeah, mohawk this. Then the one time I saw him, he had a space helmet thing.
Does
on
he
his
know
head.
Grampula?
That might be what they're into. But the point is I at least respect the fact that he has had a long history of this is the way
Sure.
we do what Tool does, and we don't want other people presenting us in a light that's going to make it sound like shit.
Right.
And so cool, whatever. But I'm just saying that's the band, one of the 10 bands I probably thought, yeah, I would watch them. I can't watch them. Okay. And so there's a few others there. I thought, would I want to watch them? And then I started thinking, are they going to play 2 songs and then leave? And is one of them going to be an Ozzy song or a Black Sabbath song? So I didn't even see them really perform. And then I got to sit through Tom Morello.
Oh.
I just can't stand.
No,
I mean,
same
that's
here.
like he's the worst of the worst for me personally. I just don't like Rage Against the Machine. I don't like him. I don't think that he always acts like he's some standard bearer for rock. And I'm like,
Right.
who are you, dude? You don't even play rock.
I
You
think
don't
if
play rock.
if hell exists, I will arrive and Morello and Grohl will be there.
We'll be waiting for you.
Yeah, waiting for me, and I'll be like,
Yeah, I mean, so
"Fuck."
like when I think when someone, because I saw this interview where he was saying, I said, if I can, I like to carry the torch for rock. And I'm thinking, Wolf Hoffman is rock. That's a rock guitar player. You
Sure.
get him on next to Morello. Yeah, Morello can do some fancy pedal shit that's made up with some digital shit.
Sure.
But he can't riff, dude. These kinds of guys, James Hetfield, Dave Mustaine, even Kerry King is fucking rock and metal, dude. He's gonna rip your head off with a riff.
Right.
Tom Morello's shit is fucking crap, dude.
Yeah.
So
Right.
even back in the day in the 90s when I was a teenager and I was pissed off, I liked Rage Against the Machine one song one time, and after that I was like, God, they just repeat the same shit over and over. What, can't that
Right.
singer think of something else to say? So I just, it's just not my thing. And so that's the reason why I'm not going to pay for it in that regard. I kind of felt like after I looked over the whole list, thought about it, it wasn't the money. It was giving it to Sharon, and then where does it really go? And then I thought about it, and I really don't want to sit through some of these acts. I don't want
Right.
it's going to be a waste of my day. I'll just wait till it comes out on YouTube and skip to the bands I want to
Right.
see and watch what they play. That has to show up at some point in time. They can't keep it off YouTube forever. So,
Right.
but to be honest with you, yeah, I'm with you. I think Ozzy, if he even can go up there, is going to be in a throne or a stool thing, piped in vocals, someone else singing, and he's only going to do a song or two at best. I bet you Sabbath, I bet Geezer and Tone and Bill are probably going to play with other singers, would be my guess, for a couple of songs as well. So at least if I was Tony, that's what I would do. I would be telling Sharon, you want me to do all this and set all this stuff up to play for the guy who can't play?
Yeah.
Why don't you give me a singer who can actually step up and sing? Where is a Rob Halford? Where is
Right.
a Bruce Dickinson? Where's somebody who can actually sing? So, that's just me. I don't know. But obviously they're keep going back to this is for charity. This is for this. This is to say goodbye to the Sabbath and Ozzy for the final time.
Yeah.
And it's her, dude. God, I don't know
Right.
how he has stayed I don't care what it would have cost to divorce her. I would have, if even if she took every penny I had and I was Ozzy Osbourne, I had to give her $50 million and I never have any money again. I would just do it. I'd say, I'm out. I'll just go live in the fucking poorhouse and go back to boozing in a motel on the strip rather than be with this fucking lady. So I'm sorry, her spending habit. You watch her on the show back in the day. She's a fucking nightmare, dude. Her kids are fucking spoiled brats who deserve to get fucking their shit knocked out once in a while by some real LA thugs to show them what life is really like. I'm just saying, they're like, it's like a whole manufactured fucking fake zone, dude. And so I don't know. Again, I don't know how these people exist this way. Because like when I go around in music circles and I've been around some bands and some music, they're not that like, they don't act like these people do. There's just something about when they get to a certain level of wealth and they disassociate from the rest of society into that LA Hollywood thing, and they stay there, and that's where they exist in it. It alters everything about their fucking mindset and the way they think. And I'm not knocking. There's some good people though. I'm just saying when you have that level of money and there's no go get a job and work for it, Jack. You want that car? Go get a paycheck, bud. No, Daddy can just write a check and Sharon, Kelly needs some. Jack, I'm gonna wipe my ass. Sharon. I'm just saying it's a fucking mess, dude. And honestly, when you go to the internet and watch some Zach Wilde interviews, he'll give you a real insight of what some of that shit's like. And you're like, whoa, dude. Zach Wilde's a fucking saint for even putting up with it. So, sometimes you literally hear him say that he's the shield between Ozzy and Sharon. Sure. He's in there protecting the old man from her going, what's he doing? Right. So, fuck, dude. I would have divorced her. I don't know how he puts up with it.
Well,
so
cool.
But what you tell me, why is it that why would a Ronnie James Dio put his whole career in his wife's hands? Why is it that Jeff Tate says my wife handles this? Why is it that Ozzy says my wife handles this? And even when it's to their detriment, they still let them do it.
Well, I think, with that, I was going to say it's the kids, but I don't think I think Ronnie raised, I don't know if it was a stepkid as his own. I think she had. So I think it always has to do with the kids, keeping it in the family business. Gotcha. I think that's probably it. But at the same time, it's like, boy, that could really go shit sideways if things don't work out. As you saw with Sharon. What's weird with Dio, though, I don't believe, I know that he and Wendy had been divorced, but she remained his manager. So that's kind of an icky.
That's what I'm saying. It seems kind of weird to let her have any control or say over what you're doing in the general scheme of things. And I don't know, like it just seems. I understand there's the two trains of thoughts. There's the train of thought that this is my wife, so she won't screw me. Then there's a train of thought that you need an independent person not related to you, not in your fucking daily life, to be your manager, because they're going to make sensible decisions that that are separated from emotion. And then there's those people that are going to tell you, well, those managers are the ones who will stick you and take the money and run, and you never get your fucking services and you're stuck high and dry. You're a star with no dough, right? So I don't know. I just think it's weird. A lot of these guys get into that routine, and I don't understand why they would allow that. And then to me, it seems like a miserable existence is what it looks like to me in some cases. And so maybe not with Jeff Tate and Susan. They seem to be happy, and she's managing his career, and he's doing what he wants to do. I'm just saying, clearly the Wendy and Ronnie thing did not go smoothly. And clearly you would think about it, if it probably wasn't for the kids and the fact he'd have to pay her so much money, Ozzy probably would have left Sharon a long time ago. He tried to bang the hairdresser. Remember that?
Right. And he tried to strangle the shit out of her, although they said it was drug induced. But that the drugs just exposed the reality that
you could also see a moment, though, regardless of drugs or alcohol, where that woman would drive a man to do some shit he ain't never done before.
Right. I mean, as
so you can't blame Ozzy because she's constantly fucking yapping, dude, and barking, dude. I couldn't take it. So, and then God, I mean, not to mention the surgeries. These women do these surgeries, and like what did Wendy Dio do to herself? Some of the surgeries,
I don't know what she did.
Face is just...
the one thing with Wendy Dio is if you look at some of the older photos of her in the 70s, I mean, she wasn't bad looking. And at that point,
my point.
At that point, you're like, holy shit, I can totally see, I mean, I think she was like at least a foot taller than Ronnie, definitely above his league. Yeah, it was kind of a weird.
I saw a photo of her in the early 80s and I thought, wow, she was really
Sure.
actually a hot blonde, tall,
Hmm.
leggy blonde with big boobies in the way that I could see why Ronnie would be all, hey, who's that? But now with the lips and the cheeks and the
Yeah.
tightening
I
and
mean, it was
it
almost kind of
becomes
like you
this.
expect her to say "Tales from the Crypt." You know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sharon, 100%. You're waiting.
Oh,
she's a crypt
yeah.
keeper in waiting. If you wiped the makeup off her face and put her in a casket, she would be the
Yeah.
crypt keeper. So yeah, I'm cool. Like I don't. Again, Ozzy,
We should
dude, you got.
we should get Grampula on here, and we can rate wife or ex-wife managers. We could do a segment episode specifically on wife managers.
If you
Rock and
think
roll
you can
manager.
reach out to Grampula and convince him to come on,
Well,
Evil's right
maybe
here waiting
Andrew
for
can
him,
help
but-
us behind the scenes. He could convince him that we're not gonna we won't ask him any Chris Aiken or CMS shit. We could just
Stick
to the
I
topic.
dude, and for the record, I threw that same exact offer to Wendell in the email. I said we don't have to discuss anything regarding your personal life or this or that or your relationship with Aiken. We can just have you on. I even said, how about you come on, brother and brother, and we do album versus album of some Dawkins, which is right up your alley. You know the Dawkins albums. You know what to say.
we could do Chicago. You know, he's such a
I was open,
Chicago
whatever. He could pick a
aficionado.
band, But I made it very clear, like, dude, you could do something that doesn't, and he still never answered and never replied. So, and there was a point where I was getting some communication from someone. Like there was one time where I requested a song early on. I got an email back saying, "We'll play your song this Saturday." Okay, thank you, dude. I'm pretty sure that was Wendell, but somewhere in there he cut off and stopped answering. And now, and I can understand. I'm imagining, even if he listens to our show, he's only been told some things that he's heard from other people, and we know what those people are going to say. So if you're listening to John Drake, you're not going to hear anything good. If you're listening to Mikey or Taylor, who's blocked all of us on social, you're not going to hear anything good.
No.
But I think if you actually came on the show, Wendell, you'd see that, honestly, what we're saying is we're trying to help you figure out how to make your show better, and maybe not get yourself in so much hot water with all the racist
all the yapping.
talk. And lastly, if you came on our show, I was just offer something mundane. Let's talk some Dawkins. Dawkins, brother. Let's do some Dawkins. But I got no reply. So there you go.
All right.
What I can say, and me and Ruben are going to work this out off the air, but we are trying to get back with Kendall Peters, ladies and gentlemen. She has agreed to come back on and do an album versus album. We're going to do some Metal Church this time.
Right.
And we're just working out what day schedule wise we can get with her to record a album versus album with her.
And hopefully, I'll be curious to see. Yeah, but we can talk about that. And then I got another idea just in case for next week where we can maybe go off a list of 5, but we can do that because I'm looking at we can do that. But so I guess we'll call it, and then we can reconnect and talk about either we may have Kendall, we may have somebody else, or we may do just the recap of the CMS along with a 5 list of something that we're going to discuss.
Yes, and actually, if you think about it, by the time we record the next show, it'll be post 4th of July. So hope you all don't blow yourselves up out there.
Hey,
Don't drink and drive.
were they going to have a show next week? I don't know. I mean, that was a
I
perfect
did not
opportunity
hear
for
about that.
Chris
I
to
can't
take the
tell
week off.
Aiken. I don't need to see the guy's hand blown up, Aiken. Didn't need all that. That was weird. Who needs that? We know what the damage can do. Don't blow yourselves up. Don't drink and drive.
Right.
And so we'll see you after 4th of July. We'll see if there's a CMS to talk about, but we do know on the 5th of July, the day after the 4th, will be the Aussie show. And that will, by the time we record this, will have transpired, or the bulk of the bands will have played. And we'll at least probably have heard something on the internet about how that went down or didn't go down.
I'm thinking they'll have a show just so they can talk about it on the 5th.
So too. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well.
So, all right, y'all. All right, kids. Me and Tracy are going to get back to it. He's got to get back to this gigging thing. He's sweating it out here in the men's restroom with me, and he's got that heat phobia thing. So.
Right.
I just don't think I don't know how many more gigs Phil's going to let him pull this off though. So I got to do some mediation here and make sure these two are on the same page.
Right.
You don't want to have a little pissed off Englishman as your front man, and this guy is locked in the bathroom by himself. Right.
Sure.
So. All right, y'all. All right. Bye, kids.
Raise your horns high, let your spirit flow.